Welcome to the Feminine Waters podcast, where we discuss dating, relationships, celibacy, and the divine feminine.
Welcome to the
Let's
Feminine
dive in.
Waters podcast, where we discuss dating, relationships, celibacy, and the divine feminine. Let's dive in.
Where we discuss dating, relationships, celibacy, and the divine feminine. Let's dive in. What's up, loves, and welcome back to another episode of the Feminine Waters podcast. I'm Chiquita.
And I'm Tiffany.
And today we will be talking about counterfeits. And this is going to lie under one of our segments, Relationship H2O.
Yes.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so last episode we kind of touched on, counterfeit people, and thought this would be a good whole episode on its own. So, yeah, I guess let's talk about maybe when was the first time that you experienced like someone who was just fake, that you just realized this is not who they're not who they say they are.
First time I experienced a guy, and I'll start off with because females, with my female relationships, maybe some when I was younger, but we're talking about relationships here. So I'm going to talk about relationships. So the first relationship that I realized that he was a counterfeit was in 2010. Yeah, that's when it was, 2010. And we were together for 2 years, I think pushing 2.5 years. And the entire time I thought he was only 2 years younger than me, which I was able to compromise on because I don't date guys who are younger than me. But by the time we had broken up, I had found out that he was actually 4 years younger than me. And that was the reason why we had so many issues within our relationship, unbeknownst to me.
Wow. Wait, when was this?
This was 2010.
Okay.
This is 2000. So this is my first relationship in Liberia. I met him, I think 3 months after I moved to Liberia.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he was he was young.
He was young, and, his whole thing was, and it's so interesting because, God dropped a clue to let me know that, but I ignored, I didn't ignore it. So he had left his license over at this is when I was working at the hotel. It was my first job in Liberia. So I was actually living on the property. And so he had left his ID at my hotel room, and I saw it and I was like, 1990? Like what? That's when he was born. And so it's so interesting because maybe 5 minutes later, he called me. He was like, oh, I left my ID at your house. I was like, yeah, I know, I saw it. And he was like, yeah, I just want to let you know, if you see 1990, on my ID, just know that, it's because they had to switch my age when we moved to Ivory Coast, because when the war broke out, he was 2, and his family had to go to Ivory Coast because of that. Mm-hmm. So they were like, oh, they just changed my age, when I went to Ivory Coast. So, but you know how old I really am, like that. My documents just say that, but I was just like, and I believed them. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Cause that's not strange dealing with in the African community, mm-hmm. for your age to be a little lower or a little higher. Yeah.
Right. So. Okay. And you said it caused problems in your relationship?
Yes. I was at the point where I was ready to see what our next steps were. Where's this going? We've been together for a long time. I was trying to move towards marriage and seeing where he was. And at the time he was a student. He was in medical school. I think this is right before he went to medical school. So he wasn't working or anything like that. But I was very much operating in my masculine energy in that time in my life. Mm-hmm. And I was like, don't worry about it. I'll take care of everything until you get on your feet, and, you don't have to worry about, providing, and I'll do that because I was working. And he was just like, no, I'm not ready. but couldn't give me actual reasons as to why he wasn't ready to take the next step. It's like, okay, we're in love. Like, we basically live together. We spend every waking second together. You know what I mean? We talk about a future. We talk about getting married. We talk about having kids. We talk about what our life is going to look like, you know, as a family. So, you know, what's the holdup? Anyway, long story short, we ended up breaking up because of something else that happened. My intuition really was telling me that, you know, I no longer needed to be in the relationship. And then after we broke up, his sister came to me and she was like, you know what, I just want to let you know that, you know, he's actually a little bit younger than he said he was. And that's the reason why, you know, he's afraid to take the next step, because he's not old enough to take on that responsibility.
Right.
And I was like, what?
Wow. Okay. So do you think that did something to like your trust? Like,
oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because like I said on the last episode, I was always a really trusting person. I believed anything. Like, prime example, like when he told me about his idea, I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
I didn't even question it. You know, I was like, you wouldn't lie to me.
Yeah.
You know, so of course, yeah, moving forward, that affected my trust a lot. But it's so interesting because my one situationship after that, and then another relationship after that, they were both counterfeits as well. So I found, and I mean, I've attracted quite a few counterfeits since then. So, you know, I guess that's why I am a little bit guarded now, not as trusting as I was before.
Yeah, I think I have, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say I like trusted people like in the grand scheme of things, but I did trust, like, if you said something, like, I don't have time to decipher if you're making it up or not. Like, I believe you. Like, why would you blatantly lie?
Right.
So, yeah, I was definitely the same way. So I would just believe things when people would tell me stuff. And then, yeah, it would always be like what you said, like, oh, you know, this isn't true, right? Like somebody else would be, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Because I've had the same, like, yeah, situations with, you know, with friends, with girlfriends, with guy friends, and in, relationships. So, yeah, I think my first encounter was with one of my best friends from high school, and she was telling me some story about how she was pregnant. This was like our senior year of high school, and she was pregnant with twins, and she didn't know what she was going to do because whatever stuff with her parents. And then our friends was like, she's not pregnant. Like, she's completely making this story up. And I can't remember how they found that out, but I was just like, this is crazy. And I have not hung with her since. Like, sometimes I'll see her around or she'll send me a message, but like, I don't mess with you anymore. Like, because that is just in my mind, like, you lied about being pregnant. Like, I don't understand.
What was the purpose? Did you ever find out what the purpose was?
No, once somebody does something, I'm just done. Like, I'm done. I've been called the ice queen several times in my life because, like, I don't want anything more to do with you. The same thing happened with some guy in college. Oh, it just came to mind where it was the first guy that I actually ever went on a date with. My first date was in college. Yes, I was 18, and I was a freshman and he was a senior. So that was like, it was like, oh, the senior likes me, blah, blah, blah. But right off the bat, he was talking about like how much he really liked me, how much like he would really want to have a relationship with me, but he just didn't know because he was about to graduate, and I would be somebody that he would want to marry. And I was just like, and it was kind of a lot. But then I found out that he was like a little bit after that trying to talk to my friend because she lived in his city. So that was more convenient for him. Yeah, and then after that, I was like, I don't need to talk to you. I don't need an explanation. Like, if you lied, you lied, and I don't want anything else from you.
Yeah. Understandable.
Yeah.
I know with me, like I used to be, I'm not anymore, but I used to be the person that always wanted to like get to the bottom of it. Like, why? Like, I need to know why you did this. I don't know if I felt like it would give me some sort of comfort or what, but I know with the guy who I was talking about earlier, like, he blatantly told me, because we're still friends. I mean, I love that guy. Like, that's my friend. Yeah. And I mean, of course, I had to take time to forgive him, forgive myself, and really like move past the heartbreak, you know. But at the end of the day, great guy. And he just told me, he was like, because I knew that you wouldn't get with me if I told you how old I really was. And I was like, you're absolutely right. But why would you? I was like, but that's so selfish, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's so manipulative. Like, you don't, that's how you would want to form the foundation for a relationship. Like, what? You know, but now when I come across counterfeits, like, I don't even care to know why anymore. It's like, okay, you did it. You had your reasons why you did it. And let me just move on with my life. Thank you very much, sir or ma'am.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I'm completely, I just move on. There's nothing for us to talk about. I had another friend who lied about a kid. I don't know what's with women lying about children for a year. A year. This is another close friend from high school, and this was like while we were in college, I think we had just graduated from college. And I was like, oh, who's this baby? And she's like, oh, it's my daughter, and blah blah blah, all this thing for a year, telling me some elaborate, dramatic story about how she still can't tell her mom that she had a kid because she would be whatever, exiled from the family. Some crazy story. And then our other close friend was just like, that's not her child. That is like her cousin or something. Like, I don't know why she's doing this. Like, it was just crazy. So yeah.
Crazy indeed. And I just always want to know, like, is it for the attention? Is it like, what is it rooted in? Like, you just want to have a story to tell, you know?
Yeah.
Because the truth is going to come out. That's my main thing.
It's so funny because I don't ever sit and try to decipher why in my normal life, because it's weird because like if I were to put on my coaching hat, I'd be like, let's get to the root of where this comes from. In my normal life, I was like, I don't even need to know. Like,
no, understandable. And with me, I'm trying to get better at not cutting people off, because I will cut you off like in an instant, just like you mentioned, you know, but I try to use discernment about who I want to, like, why I'm cutting them off. But like, yeah, if you're a liar, like if you just lie, or you're a deceiver or a manipulator, like, yeah, I'm going to cut you out of my life, you know? But if it was just like, okay, I just said this, I don't even know why, it was stupid, blah, 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 I'll probably give you another chance. And I'm talking about in a relationship or, you know, in a friendship, you know, but it depends on how big of a counterfeit you're being in that time.
Yeah.
Now, before I decide to cut you off or not.
Yeah. I mean, I could probably give my other high school friend a chance. But I think it was the craziest story. I didn't even get into like an actual relationship yet, but like the crazy story, like I think I don't know, the bigger ones have been just my friends, which is like crazy. But I had this friend for a few years in Philly, and we ended up being like real cool, like super close. So we decided to get an apartment together. So this is my first apartment. It's my first like official roommate outside of college. And so like I knew a lot about him, about his family, all the stuff. I knew that he had, you know, he had two other siblings. There was half sibling, one from his dad, one from his mom, and he was super close with the half sibling from his dad. And so she was like always at our apartment. And at some point she broke up with her boyfriend and they were living together, so she didn't ever really want to go back to the apartment. So she was like in our apartment like all the time for like months, like and I'm like, you gotta start paying rent or something. And he's just like, oh, you know, she's just going through a hard time, blah blah blah. Anyway, long story short, like she was there for a long time. And then our close friends, we had close friends who were a married couple, and they would always come over, and because I would have movie nights and stuff. And then she was like, that's not his sister. Like, we just found out, like, he just told her, you know, her husband, like, he just told him that that's not his sister. Like, they just are kind of just close and they've known each other for a long time. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, that's not his sister.
What?
She's like, yeah, that's not his. And I was just so confused. I'm like, you told me this whole story about how this is you have the same father, you have the same issues with you guys' dad, and how you've tried to talk to him, but like this whole thing. And then he moved out early to get an apartment with his quote unquote sister. And then a month later, they were married.
Oh, God.
I was just like, I'm done.
Wait, did she know that she was the sister as well?
Yeah.
In this situation?
Yes.
So she would actually say like, yeah,
Yeah.
my brother, so
Yeah.
and so.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So two crazy people.
Exactly.
God.
Exactly. And the thing is, he's a pastor. So he was a youth
Oh,
pastor. So
no. Like, was he a youth pastor then or
yeah.
now?
Yeah. Then and now.
Oh,
So
no.
and then he would be texting me like, I don't understand why you're not talking to me anymore. And we're so close. And I was just, I have no time for this. I was like, you know why I'm not talking to you anymore. I don't have to explain it. Yeah, that was literally insane. So yeah, I have a hard time with like forgiveness, but I mean, I guess I forget. It's not like I don't take the time to like block people or unfriend them. Like he's still my friend on like social media. Like I don't really care about any of that stuff. But yeah, it's just like I know where to put you in my life and where not to. Like I can't.
Yes, absolutely.
Like
yeah, that's the most important thing.
Yeah,
that's the most. Yeah. You have to categorize people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to. Because my thing is, I can't allow anybody into my space right now that's going to disturb my peace or create any illusions around me, because reality and the truth is super, super, super important to me. Like those are like my foundational beliefs, like honesty, transparency, you know what I mean? Like those things I really, really, really hold on to. And if you're trying to sell me a dream, like, you don't care about me. Like you want me to be out of my mind, basically. You want me to be out of touch with reality. And that's abuse. As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not tolerating that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh. Not to say I'll never talk to you again, blah, 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 but I'm definitely going to set clear boundaries.
I like the way you phrase that about like, being out of touch with reality, because that's exactly what it is. I think there's like my ex-boyfriend, he was someone who portrayed himself to be like together, like what kind of well off, balanced. He was very like this motivational person. If you looked at any of his things and just the way that he talked, and I guess kind of went out of his way to show me like how he was kind of the pillar of his family and how he supported his family, and made put his sister through like nursing school and bought her a car, all this stuff, that he was just this person who was stable. And I guess that should have been a red flag, because I'm like, I don't even know why you're telling, like that was on our first date too. I'm like, I don't know why you're telling me that you bought your sister a car and paid for her schooling. I don't know, because it was like he was trying to like boast or something. But I don't know. It's one thing to be like, to say that you are working towards something, that you're working, if you're working towards this image of who you want to be, but like say that, like don't present yourself to be that. And like he really wasn't. Like out of nowhere, he's just like, yeah, I think I'm an alcoholic and I have to go to rehab. And I was just like, huh? I was like, what are you talking about? It was literally crazy. And he was not. I was constantly having to I think maybe he was the most sane person in his family, but I think he was used to that role, and he wasn't like that. I think he really wasn't used to somebody like checking him, because like I was constantly checking him. And then it was just like totally out of nowhere, I think I'm an alcoholic. And the whole time I dated him for a year, he never drank. So
really,
so I was so confused.
So when you guys would go out on dates and stuff, he never ordered a drink ever?
No. He told me he didn't drink because his sister had a problem with alcohol, so he was doing it in support of her. And so like he literally never drank the whole time we were together.
So I guess that's all a part of the mask, because for me, the way I try to rationalize it is that, because I'm always going to think about men, because my my situations or my experiences has always been with men being counterfeits. Not every single man, but the few experiences I've had. I'm thinking it's like, I see this woman, she's dope. I want to be with her. I want to be in her space. I'm not dope, right? In his mind, that's what he's thinking. So like, I have to put on this front like I am, because that's the only way. That's the only way. Same thing with the guy I was talking about. They feel as though that's the only way that I'm going to get this prize, because that's what men want to do. They want to chase and achieve a prize. Right. So I'm thinking like him not drinking on dates and stuff like that is probably like all a part of the mask. Like, who knows? When he went home, he probably drank a whole bottle of whatever, Yeah. But in front of you, it's like, I have to keep up the facade. And that is scary.
That is like, that's literally, I was just telling the guy that I'm talking to, like, how the movie Enough, I don't know if you've ever seen it, is one of my worst nightmares. Like how he literally deceived her for like 5 years before she ever saw who he really was.
Yes.
Yeah. That terrifies me.
It's terrifying, but luckily, we do our best to operate in divine feminine energy. So our intuition is high, because you mentioned red flags. Yeah. And I think that that's super important, because I will be lying if I sit here and tell you that I didn't have red flags or my intuition didn't tell me something about each of the counterfeits I was with.
Right.
I just chose to ignore them.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just chose to ignore them. So they're there. And I think, I like to give like some practical tools on how to spot a counterfeit.
Hey listeners, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it is the easiest way to make a podcast. So let me explain. Because first, it's free, which is one of the main reasons why I chose it. Let's be real. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. And I use both ways in order to edit this podcast. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so many more podcast platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. And it's really everything that you need to make a podcast in one place. Like, I'm on here doing transitions, and it's just so simple, adding background music to things. Like, it is so easy. So if you're ready to start doing your podcast right now, just download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
My top 3 are: number 1, they're all words and no action. Number 2, the certain things he or she says just doesn't add up. And last, your intuition already told you he or she is a counterfeit. Those are the 3 ways to know. So have you had any, or do you want to give any like stories or examples of any of these 3 things?
Words and actions don't match up. I mean, yeah, I wrote that down too. Like, that's exactly what I wrote down. If there's no alignment with the 2. And yeah, I've had that. Really with with men. And I know I've had to explain to people, to these men, like, it's usually about like the things that they say they're ready for, that they want. I'm like, it's one thing to want something, it's another thing to be ready for it. And everything you're doing is not showing me that you're ready. Intuition. Yeah, there's been several. I've written about that, actually. I think journaled about it. How every single time my intuition was just like, no, but then it was the giving the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
I think I think that's what I wrote about. Like, there's no reason for you to like your first impression is usually right. Like, why give somebody the benefit of the doubt? Like, it's your intuition speaking to you, and we're constantly told to not trust ourselves. So yeah, totally with that. What was the other one you said?
I said certain things he or she says doesn't add up. And I know it's kind of similar to all words, no action. So let me just give some clarification there. So an example of all words, no action is, I know I haven't taken you out on a date, but we're going to go out on the date soon. And then 2 weeks has passed, no date.
All right.
Right. So that's a simple example. Then an example of saying things that don't add up. If you told me you made your first $1 million this year, but then 2 weeks after that, you're asking me to borrow $300. I had to laugh on that one because this is a real life thing. This happened to me. So I had to crack up on that.
Wow.
One.
Okay.
So it's like, huh? So yeah, so that's the clarification between those two.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the perfect example that would be, I don't know if you saw Married at First Sight a couple seasons ago, if you ever watched the show.
No, but I've heard of it though.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay, we're in season 12 now. So it was season 10. There was this guy, Michael. He married this woman, Mika, and he lied about every single thing. It was nothing added up. First of all, he was a principal of a school. Then he was some other kind of in some kind of other administration, and then he got a job, but then he didn't have the job, and then he was a yoga teacher, but then she went to take his yoga class and he wasn't there, and they said they never heard of him. Like it was like everything was, and oh, I felt so bad for her. Everybody felt so bad for her because you could see her being so frustrated. It's like, why can't you just tell me the truth? like it was all these deep-seated issues.
That is frustrating.
Yeah, it was,
because literally it's like, why? Like I literally want to know the answer. Why?
Yeah,
you can't just tell me the truth.
And so, what's wrong with you? In Married at First Sight, it's like, this is a real marriage. Like, if you decide you're not going to stay together after the 8 weeks, it's a divorce. That's it. There's no annulment. It's a divorce. But because of the severity of everything that he lied on, she was able to get an annulment. Because that's like, because you get annulments for like if somebody is, basically if somebody's counterfeit. Like if you entered into a marriage with complete not knowing who the person was, and that's what it was. Like, could not get the truth out of him at all. It was just insane.
It has to be a sickness. There has to be something associated with that in like the mental health field or arena, you know? There has to be. I guess that's what a compulsive liar is, maybe, or a pathological liar. I've heard a few terms.
I think it's a pathological. Yeah. Oh, that was rough. You should watch it. It was crazy.
I think I will. I'm always down for new reality shows, so I think I'll definitely watch that one.
So from all of my experiences with people I know and random people, and just like things are just coming up just not what they are, I definitely cross-examine everybody now. Everybody I meet, the person I'm talking to now, like I looked at everything I possibly could to see if it added up to what he said.
Now, do you see this as a positive or a negative thing?
That I cross-examined?
Yes.
I mean, it's negative because it's like, we shouldn't have to do all this. Like, why can't people just be upfront? And like, I mean, I love that everything he's told me is true. And I've been able to look at several things, and he doesn't know this. And if he listens to this, he's going to know. But
hey, it's 2021. You're not the only one out here doing your research, girl. That's normal, okay?
Yeah. And it was a little bit difficult because he's not really on social media, but he has Facebook. But so I'm literally looking at, see, this makes me look crazy now. Because I'm looking at his siblings, and I'm looking at everything.
No, I feel you. And isn't that sad?
Yeah.
And I did, and I had that down as a point too, is that they project their crap on you.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have these problems before you came into my life, but because of my bad experience with you, now I could possibly be deemed as crazy. But hey, I mean, if I'm crazy, that's fine. I got to protect myself.
Yeah.
I have to protect myself because I love me, and I'm not going to let you come in here and wreck anything. I just can't, especially if you've done the inner work.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh man, this is exactly, that's funny because I don't know, for some reason Sex and the City has been on like every single night, late nights. And
Because they're about to come back on HBO.
oh
Yeah,
right.
so they're trying
Yeah.
to get people in the spirit.
So that was like one of the episodes that I saw, and Carrie's like, all these men are freaks and all this stuff, and then she finally met somebody that was like normal, but she was so terrified that when he left his apartment, because he left her in his apartment, she
I
went,
remember this episode.
yeah, she went thinking through everything, and he came back and he's like, well, what are you doing? And like she realized that she became that crazy person.
Yes.
And she became that freak that, you know, she was trying to
find. And he broke up with her.
And he broke up with her. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I don't want to be that.
And he was like, I thought you were one of the normal ones.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember that episode.
Yes, and she's like, I used to be.
She does say that.
Oh man, yeah. You know, I just have to call it doing my detective work. Like that's
yeah. And you know, I'm so happy that women are transparent about that. I've heard a few like people that I follow on YouTube and stuff like that, they'll say that like, hey, you got to do, you know, background searches, because somebody even asked me about the last guy that I was dating who was a huge counterfeit. They asked me, they're like, but did you do a background check on him? And I was like, no. You know, and she was like, girl, like, what do you mean? You know, this was okay, I kind of switched. Sorry, I was talking about the influencers at first. The influencers or the YouTubers at first were saying, you know, I do background checks and I check up on guys, like it's okay. Then my real life friend was like, how did you not do a background check on this guy? And I'm like, I didn't even know that was a normal person that's not a YouTuber does it. Like, I just thought, you know, that was just something for online, you know. But it's a real life thing. People are out here checking people out, doing proper background checks on people.
Yes. So I know this because this is not something I would have thought of, but one of my former best friends, and I've always had a lot of guy friends, so he's a guy, and he was very protective of me. So everybody I went out with, he's like, I'm going to talk to my cop friend and we're going to get a background check. Like, I got to know who you're with. And so... And now that I look back on it, I'm like, I don't know if he actually did these things. He would be like, oh yeah, they're cool, that one's fine, or I don't know about this one. But I mean, maybe I'll just try to trust that he actually did what he said he was doing. But because he in some ways ended up being a counterfeit person as well, and like we are no longer friends. So, but yeah, that's another thing for another time. But yeah, every time I would talk to somebody or be dating somebody, he's like, I'm gonna do a background check. I got to make sure you're good. So, yeah, I mean, I know it's done. I don't know if it's actually done for me as was said, but like, I know it's done. But yeah, I try to do whatever I can online and figure stuff out. So.
Yeah, I like to dig. I mean, and when I say like, not just because like I'm a crazy, but like literally to be able to do research, because I'm a researcher by nature.
Me too.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah. So I like to get in there, you know, and see, you know, what he does, who he's with, and, you know, stuff like that. And no, ladies, that doesn't make you crazy. It makes you a single woman in 2021.
Yes.
It is okay. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, because we are trying to avoid counterfeits at all costs.
Yeah. It's important. It's important, especially when you're like I'm a really honest person. I don't just start like divulging things about myself to people, but if I'm having a conversation, like I'm honest, like I'm not gonna hold back, like, so I just don't expect people to just be lying to my face, like that's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah, it
is crazy. And when you don't think, you know, and people would just be like, oh well, you're crazy, like people try to put it on you, like you're the crazy one. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm actually just operating from what I experienced, so just bear with me, please and thank you.
So I want to know, like, what the process was for you to let your ex back into your life.
Sure. So we had established just a really good friendship. Yeah, he was my first friend in Liberia, and he introduced me to Liberia. Mm-hmm. He really did. Like, he's the reason why I know everybody I know. I mean, I've met a lot of people since then and networked with a lot of people since then, but he really was able to make me feel comfortable. He would take me out to all the hot spots. He would make me feel safe and secure because he was born and raised there, except for the little time he had to live in Ivory Coast. So I just always felt safe with him. And I was empathetic, because he was really sorry and really, like broken. Like I can tell that he knew that he messed everything up. And, and I wanted to just extend that grace to him, and even though he wanted to get back together, I was like, okay, well, I can't do that, but I will still be friends with you. I will still keep you in my life, but I can no longer trust you the way I did before to allow you back into my heart. Like, that's just not an option for me. Cause I don't want to be paranoid in my relationship, and we're not as close as we were, but, but we're still cool.
Nice. Very mature.
Try to be. I try to be.
Yeah, I gotta work on that. I'm so used to, I've been trying to, where I see possible. But yeah, I'm so used to just like shutting people out. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
That's how it was at first. Yeah. I had shut him out completely, but he was very persistent. And I could tell that he was so sorry and he was really trying, so I was like, all right, I softened up and I was like, all right, you're a human. We all make mistakes,
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, remorse and actually, the effort.
Right,
the
exactly.
Effort. Yeah.
Exactly.
When I fell out with like my former best friend because of stuff, it was just like, oh, let's talk about this. Like, I really want to apologize, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like you disappeared. So there wasn't that effort. I didn't really feel like you were sorry. Then randomly, he's like, oh, can I come see you so we can talk? I'm like, come see me for what? You didn't even try to call me. So. Yeah. So that's important. Yeah. If you could see the actual remorse and effort behind everything.
Yeah.
I can't say I've seen that with anybody, so therefore.
Yeah, and that matters. Matters. That really does, because even, I lost a really close female friend about 3 years ago, and we were super close. We were really close for like 7 years. That was my sister. And, one day she just cussed me out, and I have still until this day, I have no idea what because there's a reason, but to me, like, I don't believe the reason. I'm like, that's not enough for you to cuss me out randomly and end our friendship, like, and tell me that, I'm toxic and all this stuff. But it's like, what did I do? Like, tell me what I did, because this is a relationship. So it's like, let's work on it. I'm oblivious to what it is that I did to you. I'm willing to apologize and I'm willing to move forward. But she just, cussed me out. And then, the next time I saw her, she just walked past me like she never met me before a day in her life, and it's been like that moving forward. So at that point, it's like, all right, well, there's nothing left for me to do. You know what I mean? Like, if she's not going to open to herself up and at least let me know what the grounds of this situation is, then there's nothing. I'm not going to go to her and, try to work it out, because I don't want to force anybody to do anything they don't want to do. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be friends anymore, clearly. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to force you to be my friend. So that there was no apology, there was no remorse, there was no nothing. So that's how I knew that it was one of those things that you just had to let go, Right. But I still practice forgiveness exercises within myself towards her. So even though I've never told her like, hey, I forgive you for hurting me, within myself, I've done the work and I've forgiven her. I've never said it to her, but I have forgiven her, and I've been able to be like released of that burden. Because I know that before I forgave her, I would see her and I would like get anxious and I'll be like, I don't know what to do, blah, blah. But then after that, I just have peace. Like, so she can be there, I can be there. I don't feel anything. I just, move on with my life. So forgiveness does offer that, that peace. And I think that that's really important.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've definitely also forgiven my former friend. I don't know if I've forgiven this ex-boyfriend though, but I'll have to think about that.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about forgiveness, is that you don't have to tell the person you forgive them.
Yeah.
You don't. You know, I mean, that's the best part about it. And shameless plug, I do a forgiveness, the power of forgiveness meditation. So if interested in that, hit me in the DMs and we can talk about it.
Yes, and I attended one of your forgiveness classes, and I wrote a letter of forgiveness, which was really great. Do you have anything else to say about, I don't know, fake people? How to, I don't know. I mean, I think how to, what's the word I'm looking for? The discernment is really, just listening to yourself, your intuition.
Yeah. Definitely. That's what I was going to say. I was just going to reiterate that, listen to your intuition. The red flags are right there. Your intuition's telling you, but it's up to you to choose what path you're going to take. If you decide to ignore them, you're taking yourself down a dark path. If you decide to listen, you're on an enlightened path. So listen to your intuition. It's real. That's why God gave it to us, to be a guide.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was good. Thanks to everyone for listening. Let us know in, I don't know, messages if you've had any of these experiences, what you've learned, all of that. We'd love to hear it.
All right. Until next time, guys.